You want healthy, glowing skin, but with all the products, trends, and conflicting advice, it's hard to know what actually works. I understand. I am Dr. Tina Meder, a former cardiologist and specialist in the skincare development and cosmetic safety expert. I've spent years studying the science of skin. Welcome to Meder Beauty podcast, where we uncover what really matters, break down the science, and give you real expert-backed skincare advice. Whether you're looking to achieve radiant, healthy skin, curious about anti-aging, or want to understand what's really in your product, you are in the right place. Rooted in science and the truth about what your skin actually needs, we'll have in-depth conversations with leading dermatologists, medical experts, and skincare brand founders to bring you the latest innovations, evidence-based insights, and industry secrets that truly make a difference. We are so happy you are here. So let's go! Welcome everyone to our The Skin We Live In podcast. And today I want to bring you behind the scene of aging. Because aging, it's not just what we see in the mirror. The aging is what happens in our cells, inside of our body. And for a long time, we thought that the aging is some kind of bad luck. Some people, they're aging faster, some people, they're aging slower. In some families, they look incredibly well until the very late age. In some families, the situation is opposite. It was some types of mystery, so it's just life, right? But recently, it was found that it is not about the luck. It is not about some enigmatic lifestyle factors. Obviously, the lifestyle plays a role. But most importantly, in our body, we have some mechanisms which make our body age. And first article about it was published in 2013. The group of scientists led by Carlos Lopez-Otin looked at decades of data and reviewed it all and noticed something very important, that there are some core problems which kept appearing in different tissues, in different organs, and in different animals. And these core problems are the same everywhere. So, aging wasn't a cause. Apparently, it has some patterns. So, this group of scientists, they proposed the first framework of molecular aging, which was called 9 hallmarks of aging. There have been some 9 basic mechanisms. Later, they've been expanded to 12. Next articles published about the hallmarks of aging by the group of Carlos Lopez-Otin was published in 2024. So now we are speaking about 12 hallmarks of aging, creating for us maybe not the completed map of the molecular mechanism of aging, but at least we have now the map of what actually goes wrong inside of our body, what makes us grow older. So instead of just saying, oh my God, I have wrinkles, I have dark spots, my jawline is sagging because I'm aging, now we can say that probably that's all about mitochondria and DNA, epigenetic changes, miscommunication of cells, microbiome, and so on. So the good thing about it, then all of these hallmarks can be studied, can be measured. It is not just a poetic description. It is not the guess anymore. It is the science. So what are hallmarks of aging? To be counted as a hallmark, this process, these molecular mechanisms must pass 3 key tests. First test, every one of them gets worse with a normal aging process. Second test, if you make it worse experimentally, aging speeds up. And finally, the third test, if you improve one of the hallmarks or many of them, or if you achieve to block it, some signs of aging will slow down, smoothen, or even partially reverse. So now we see a theoretical way to reverse aging in the human body and in the animal body. So now we have 12 very specific glitches which pass these of 3 tests. All of them worsen with age, all of them, when worsened experimentally, accelerate the aging, and all of them could improve the situation if they're blocked or at least reduced. But when they accumulate and start to interact with each other, we see what we call the aging picture outside. So that's very extremely important for the active longevity to change this narrative from the aging is bad luck, we don't know why we are aging, so it's just running in the family, to the aging is driven by specific targeted mechanisms, because the understanding leads to the efficient treatment. When there is no mystery behind the process, we can control this process. So today I will walk you through all these 12 hallmarks of aging, how they fit in different groups, what they do to your skin, and I will use this metaphor of the skin hotel, which I just recently found. And if you listen to the episode about active longevity and anti-aging, you're familiar with this metaphor. If you did not listen it yet, first of all, I recommend it to listen to active longevity episode, but I will explain it shortly. I see the body aging and the skin aging as an aging of the luxury skin hotel, because it's a lot of common between them. The management of the hotel, it's extremely complicated process. There are a lot of elements behind it, and at the moment when you plan the hotel, you can plan it perfectly, ideally, with a huge resource for repair, but if you don't maintain it, it will crack one day. And there are 2 different strategies of the maintenance of the skin hotel. You can use these quick fixes, flushes, which can be impressive at the moment, but we should not address the roots of the problem, like you can paint the crack on the wall, but this wall is cracked because of some change of the structure. So you should diagnose, you should address the structural changes. And active longevity mindset addresses these changes in the first place. And with this mindset, we can find the metaphor, we can find the analogy for each of hallmarks of aging in the hotel management. So I hope this metaphor is not simplifying things too much, but it helps you to understand and to memorize some important cellular mechanisms. And obviously, I will go through some advice about lifestyle changes and skincare changes and use of active ingredients. Spoiler alert, I will be speaking about niacinamide and resveratrol and peptides. So stay tuned. So let's start with the domino effect. All 12 hallmarks are split in 3 big groups. Primary hallmarks, which are the root causes. Antagonistic hallmarks, they are protective responses, which going wrong with an age. And integrative hallmarks, they are consequences of the summary of primary and antagonistic hallmarks changes. But primary hallmarks, the first group, it is the first domino that falls. And when first dominoes falls, the process of aging begins. When you imagine your skin as a luxury hotel, again, primary hallmarks, they are backstage problem, which you don't see, you don't hear about it because you're not part of the management. As the guest, you have no idea then what something happens inside. But when it started, it leads to consequences. Antagonistic hallmarks, they're mostly about the overreaction of staff working in this luxury hotel. They can get the best intentions. But if they don't follow protocols, if they're not professional enough, things will go very wrong. And finally, integrative hallmarks, and when guest experiences some difficulty. The cleaning is not ideal, the electricity doesn't function, the restaurant cannot serve the good food, and you feel unhappy, you feel unwelcomed. That's what we call aging. So this hotel now looks and behaves like an old and not very functional building. So it's our active longevity mindset. We are not thinking how to paint cracks in the wall. We are thinking how to prevent these cracks in the wall to appear in the first place. Let's see what are primary hallmarks. They are root causes. We have 5 of them. And actually, aging starts shockingly early. Even not at 25 years, as aesthetic medicine professionals love to say so. Like, aging starts at 25 years, you should do something about it. No, it starts at the moment when baby is born, and even before, 9 months before. When embryo starts to develop, the aging process starts. Just until some point, we love it. We love the embryo to be transformed to the real baby. We don't want the 1 month baby stay 1 month forever. I never met the pregnant woman who wanted to stay 5 months pregnant for all of her life. But we know a lot of women who wants to stay 35 years old forever. It is impossible. The aging process is absolutely unavoidable, but characteristic of this process can be less destructive if we know how to manage it. So, our 5 primary hallmarks, they are backstage problem. We don't feel them in the first place because the baby is born with incredible, enormous resource. With a hotel metaphor, it's like you have double stuff for everything that you should done. And your staff works not lazily, but they can afford to work 4 hours a day, not 8 hours a day. So they're always happy. They're always fresh. They're always powerful. And that it's not a coincidence that all Olympic athletes, they're so young. Because this peak of performance can happen only in the time when primary hallmarks of aging, they are not so prominent. Yes, you've been double-stuffed at the moment when you've been born, and after slowly one staff member or another, they started to quit, but we don't feel it until some point because we still have a lot of people working in the hotel. Same with our skin cells, same with our resources. And all starts with a blueprint, with plans and protocols created before the baby is born. Because these blueprints, we need it, and we call it DNA in our human body. And is the archive, our DNA is prepared by our body from the very beginning, from the very first day. But they're constantly accumulating some small typos. For example, in the skin case, these typos can be created by the ultraviolet damage, even at the very early age. If your baby skin was born when he was 3 years old, it will damage blueprint, but the consequences probably you will see only when you'll be in your 50s. And these typos can come from the ultraviolet, from the pollution, from the metabolism, from the unhealthy food, unhealthy lifestyle, and so on. Most of them can be repaired, especially when your body has a lot of resources. But over time, mistakes are just folding. So these architectural, beautiful plans of your body slowly getting harder to read, and it's still possible to fix things. But it became more difficult, and your plans, just when you follow your plans, you make more of errors. And actually, it was one of the theory of the aging, the theory of errors, which are accumulating with an age. Now we call it genomic instability, when your DNA and my DNA is mutating slightly with the time. But it doesn't stop on the DNA itself. We have also structures in our chromosomes called telomeres. And the second hallmarks of aging, they are telomeres attrition. Telomeres, very often, they are compared to the protective tips on the shoelaces. So if you see your chromosome as a shoelace, okay, that's a kind of large metaphor, but whatever is used everywhere is genetic and epigenetic handbooks. With each division, when cells are dividing, they are shortening. And at some point, it's come to this protective cap, and the dividing process stops. So cells cannot divide anymore. They become dysfunctional. If we are speaking about the hotel, I see as a better metaphor, telomeres, they act as a plastic folder on your beautiful new blueprints. Because your body and your skin is using your blueprints every day, many times of the day, these plastic folders, they are slightly cracking, they become dirty, and it affects the blueprints, which were thin. And so every time when you use them, they become less and less readable until the day when you can't open them safely anymore, when the telomeres are too short. But it doesn't stop here. We have another thing called epigenetics alterations. Epigenetics is a relatively new part of the aging science, and actually it is a big part of the understanding of our genetics right now. We started with an understanding that our DNA defines everything in our body, from physical traits and cells metabolisms to the different type of lifestyles characteristics. And actually, there are a lot of very interesting research, like twin studies, which research how twins grow and behaves and live during their long time, and there are a lot of similarity behind them. Like separated twins who didn't see each other during the whole life, they can be married to women who look very similarly and even who have the same name. They can have children at the same age, and these children can look very similarly between two families and so on. They can have the different things happening in their life at the same time, despite they not being in contact. But another part of this twins phenomenon, yes, twins are incredibly similar to each other. And their life can be very similar, but it can be different as well. And even twins who been born together, never separated, been growing and educated together, at some point they grow in difference. They can have different weight, they can have different lifestyle, they can get different illnesses, and they can age differently. Why? Exactly because of epigenetic alterations of their DNA. Even if the DNA is exactly the same, still epigenetic can change it. What is the epigenetic? Epigenetic is our way to adapt to the environment. Because you can see your DNA as a hard drive, or some scientists see it as a Bible. In our hotel metaphor, I see it as the whole functioning hotel with all storages, all rooms, all wires and pipes and everything in the wall. But we don't use 100% of this stuff all the time. And sometimes we don't even need the storage. We created it, but we never needed it. With a hard drive or library of applications, we can have thousands of them, but using one or other application only in case we need it. And some application will stay in the storage for lifetime, but your twin can use it because his or her life could be different of yours. So, for example, speaking about our skin, we have everything in our skin to be adapted to the cold climate and to the hot climate. But when you are living in north, you will never need this mechanism of adaptation to the tropical climate, right? But if you're living in tropics, you will never know why you need this thing adapted to your skin for skiing in the snowfall. But you have all of them, but epigenetic lighten up only the part which you need. So you don't spend the energy to keep all your hotel lightened. And it functions beautifully in the young age. In the young age, we adapt so quickly to different changes of environment. The example of the family who decided to relocate from one country to another. And for example, the family relocating from Scandinavia to Florida, they will adapt with a different speed, and probably children in the family, they will be happy very soon. They will love the sun, they will love the ocean, they will play joyfully under the sun, and they will not be uncomfortable because it is hot. Parents will adapt slower, but if they come with grandparents, probably with grandparents, it will be very difficult, and it will take years, ages to get adapted, and maybe they will never be so happy as the children grow to be. And maybe they will always be a little bit nostalgic for the snow in the winter, who knows. So in the skin, it means that over time, our system becomes confused. So speaking about the skin hotel, it just some rooms, they never been used, and suddenly they're lightened and doors are open. Or functional rooms, for some reason, your epigenetic alteration puts small signs not for use on the door, and it is not used for your body. So the system became confused, and they switched everything wrongly. So wrong genes are active, you have more of inflammation in the skin, fewer repair, your skin cells produce less of collagen. But we have some ingredients which helps to tune the signals again and helps to regulate the genes, upregulate the genes which should be a little bit more active, or downregulate the genes which should be less active. Now, when we understand the characteristic of these epigenetic changes, it is possible, sometimes in theory, but sometimes in practice as well. Gently tuning the gene expression, we can support repair, we can support the barrier function, we can support collagen production, hyaluronic acid production, and we can maintain the skin resilience. If we don't address this epigenetic alteration at some point, and in our skin, I will say that probably it happens over 40, your epigenetic can go a little bit crazy. And all hormonal changes in the skin just promote this wrong epigenetic alteration. And it leads to other changes, to other hallmarks of aging. But we have two more hallmarks of aging in our first dominant cases. The first three have been all about your DNA, right? Genetic instability, your DNA blueprints, epigenetic alteration, your plastic folders of your blueprints, and telomeres, shoelaces. When we are speaking about your genes, we understand there are three processes: epigenetic, DNA mutation, and telomeres attrition, which we should address if we want to maintain the active longevity of the skin or of the body and global. And other primary hallmarks of aging, which starts at the very early age. First is loss of proteostasis. What is a proteostasis? Easily speaking, it is a stability of your proteins in your body. In our body, we have a lot of proteins, but the key proteins of our skin, it is collagen, which I am absolutely sure everybody heard about. And another very important proteins which maintain the skin elasticity and skin resilience. Proteins, they are like wall structures and roof structures, but also they can be seen as a furniture of the hotel. So you cannot underestimate proteins. If your proteins are unstable, your beautiful designers' chairs are squeaking, the beds are unstable, and the most important, walls start to crack because this collagen bricks and mortars in the walls, they are slightly changing the structure. And unfortunately, with age, our damaged proteins and misfolded proteins are accumulating. So it is not only about buying new furniture. We should maintain the structure of what we have, at least in the walls, because partly we can replace proteins. We can buy new chairs, new sofas, new reception desk, but we cannot buy new walls because we should destroy the hotel to build new walls, right? And we don't want to do it. And another part of these primary hallmarks, we call it disabled macroautophagy. I know how it sounds, too scientific, too complicated, but macroautophagy, it is a housekeeping process in our skin and in our body. And macroautophagy, it is elite type of housekeeping, which in our childhood, it keeps everything perfect, squeaky clean. Every little thing is shining. Every little detail is dusted. Floors is always super clean. It smells great. But with the time, it starts to accumulate. And your elite housekeeping is a little bit tired. And maybe some staff members left the team. So here and there are some dust. First a little bit. After you can see it. There are some junk built up in the corridor, some trash bin which was forgotten in the dark room, which creates a smell and which just intoxicate the whole atmospheres. So at some point, cell struggles to be efficient, because to be efficient, you should stay clean. So for the long time, you guests in a lobby and in their room, they see nothing. But behind the scene, this building is already aging. At some spaces of the building, the light is off. You see some hoarding stuff in the storage. And at some point, it comes to the new category of hallmarks of aging. After the first 5, we are coming to antagonistic aging, which starts later. Primary aging starts from the very first day when we are born. We cannot stop it. It is unavoidable, but we can make it softer, we can make it slower, we can maintain it longer than it can be maintained itself without any external help. But antagonistic hallmarks, they act as some types of double agent. They are our body protective responses. We need them. We need the inflammation because when something damages our body, inflammation, it is physiological response to fight this damage and to repair this damage. Also, we have our immunity system. It's our security agent, which works beautifully in the young age, but after it starts to get wrong a lot of things. Our protective response, they exist to defend us. So our antagonistic protective responses, they exist to protect us from the primary hallmarks, from the primary damage. They defend us from the primary damage appears. But if this damage never stops, and it never stops, these responses stay permanently a little bit switched off, and they became part of the problem. So imagine in the hotel, excellent security system, which starts malfunction step by step. Just some alarms are going overactive during nighttime for no apparent reasons. This just some stuff which they shouldn't do, they run in circles, and it leads to the missing the real emergency. So what are antagonistic hallmarks? First antagonistic hallmarks, it is mitochondrial dysfunction. I hope you remember from the school what are mitochondria. Mitochondria, they are power station of our body, and they are power station of our skin. So let's see them as a power room of our skin luxury hotel. They produce energy, but also they can produce some reactive molecules. I think it's better to see mitochondria as powerful battery. Once the battery are new, they are producing a lot of energy, they are clean, they not create any problem. But when the battery, they are aging, they're still producing energy, but it is less stable, you have less of energy, and most importantly, this battery start leaking. And leaking, they are producing toxic substances, reactive, oxidative substances which oxidize the skin, which create the oxidative stress. They are free radicals. They are damaging byproducts of the mitochondria. If we could support the mitochondria, avoiding this unnecessary oxidative stress, for example, ultraviolet damage or smoking, because they are just aging our mitochondria enormously. If we could maintain our energy metabolism with some lifestyle changes, what our mitochondria loves? Physical activity. They love to be exercised. They need it. And they need the healthy food to function. So we can just prevent this leaking for a longer time, and we can keep our mitochondria power station active for longer. And if you don't have energy in your hotel, nothing will function, right? It's no point to get new furniture when you have no light in the room. It's no point to get beautiful restaurant with a lot of stuff if your ovens cannot function because of blackout. So the energy, it is very important, but it should be produced properly, on time, and without byproducts which can intoxicate our skin and our body. Another part of the problem and the next of antagonistic hallmarks, we call it deregulated nutrient sensing. You all know what are nutrients. It is like a food. So we are speaking about our metabolism, about the way our body digests nutritional substrate, and how our body and our skin is using it. So this metabolism way of reading the food and energy situation. How we perform in this situation very often depends on the functioning of our skin cells and the signaling in our body. Once again, when we are young, we can afford some changes in the lifestyle or unhealthy diet. Yes, it is not good for children to eat too much of sugar or to eat junk food, but their body is strong enough to digest it and to repair the damage on the place. But it doesn't mean and it doesn't leave traces. Remember, epigenetic alteration. Remember, genetic mutation. If your children eat unhealthily for a long period of time, it will leave traces. It will lead to the antagonistic hallmarks faster. And one of the best examples of deregulated nutrient sensing is the development of the diabetes. When too much of sugar, too much of glucose is circulating in the bloodstream, damaging everything, every organ and every tissue. So antagonistic hallmarks of deregulated nutrient sensing, it's like the constant overload. when too much of sugar, too much of calories you have in your body, so it confuse and damage all your natural sensors. It's like, the hotel kitchen is preparing giant Christmas and Thanksgiving buffets every day, regardless of how many guests you have and if the guests are actually dining or not. They are wasting resources, they are clogging the whole system, they are spending a lot of money, they are spending a lot of energy, which should never be used properly by the body. So, your lifestyle choices like balanced eating, the regular time between meals, and regular but smart skincare, they help to maintain relevant your nutrient sensing. Speaking about the skincare, it is very important to not overload your skin with unnecessary ingredients. You don't need retinol in your 20s and maybe even in your 30s, because it will create this deregulated nutrient sensing. You have enough of retinoic acid, enough of vitamin A circulating in your body. Same for the vitamin C. You should not overload your skin with oils because you have enough of fatty acids in the young skin, and so on. So the whole rules about deregulated nutrient sensing: do not overload your kitchen, do not buy unnecessary things for your hotel. And finally, the last antagonistic hallmarks. We call it self-senescence. Senescence, it is a word meaning the aging, but it is a specific aging. So it's not only age-related changes. It's age-related changes which makes your skin, which makes your body dysfunctional. Also, senescent cells are called zombie cells because they're still there. They still look more or less the same, but if you watched at least one of the zombie movie, you know how the zombie moves. And then zombie, they are not useful members of the society. They are dangerous. They sit on your tissues, they release this inflammation, they release toxins, they release degrading molecules, they destroying everything around them, they're eating collagen, they disturb their neighbor cells and they transform them to zombie cells. In the hotel metaphors, at some point, some staff members, they should be retired, but they refuse to leave because they still think they can be useful. And they stay in the lobby, they gossip loudly, they are rude to guests, they demotivate everyone else. And if you don't get rid of them, they will absolutely kill your hotel management and your hotel business, even if your walls are still strong. These zombie cells can destroy it faster than you can bring. So now we have a lot of new strategy. Many of them, they are still in hypothesis and theory, but also we are using all ingredients and even medication in some biohacking, which can be called senolyticals. The whole idea is to activate the process of elimination of zombie cells. If they are zombified, they cannot be treated, they cannot be reversed. You should get rid of them to keep other cells alive, fresh, and young. So it should not destroy your cellular team in your skin. And some intervention with anti-senescence drugs or anti-senescent ingredients can be done quite early to reduce this nosy background and to prevent the zombification of your skin cells. So all three of antagonistic hallmarks, they are all about good intentions. That's security, mitochondria, power station, which want to be useful, but they are still problematic. That's deregulated nutrient sensing, your kitchen is too full. And on one side, it's better to have kitchen too full than empty. But on another side, no, it is toxic. It is create this whole unhealthy situation. And there are zombie cells. They've been very useful. They've been amazing team members. But when you should retire, you should do it. So these antagonistic hallmarks, we should address them gently and we should address them on time, and we cannot ignore it. So after primary, we go to antagonistic, but if both of hallmarks have been ignored and existed for a long time, they're accumulating, creating the visible consequences. And these consequences, we call them integrative hallmarks. That's where everything comes together and you can actually see and feel. So wrinkles, they are results of integrative hallmarks. Dark spots appearance, integrative hallmarks. Sagging jawline, same. Under eye bags, everything which you are tempted to treat with different types of aesthetic procedures, it was built in your skin because of integrative hallmarks. So what we have here? Integrative hallmarks, first of them, it called stem cells exhaustion. We have this amazing training academy of the new stuff, always ready to replace retired cells, right? Retired staff members. But with an age, as the atmosphere became more toxic and the hotel became older and less functioning, our training academy is less attractive for the new staff. So they are not so motivated to replace these old members. And we have a lot of stem cells in the epidermis, in our hair follicles, in our fat tissue, in the deep layers of the skin when we are young. But with an age, we have less and less of them. So when we get rid of senescent cells, there are less cells to replace them. And less cells means less of mitochondria, so less of power, less of energy. Less cells, it means less of collagen production, because one cell can produce as much as it can. It cannot double the production just because the neighbor cells disappeared, and so on. And it leads to weakening of our skin, thinning of epidermis, thinning of dermis, lack of collagen, and it leads to the loss of elasticity, formation of wrinkles, and so on. Another integrative part of the aging, it is communication between cells. It's called altered intercellular communication and chronic inflammation together, because they are two processes very much linked together. Our cells talk to each other every second, constantly, with different type of chemical signals. In our skin, we have 9 types of cells, and each of the types, they are using their own chemical signals. And fun fact, a lot of these signals are very similar to signals of nervous cells in our body. So this cellular communication become problematic in the nervous system and in the skin about the same time. And actually now the premature skin aging is seen as a predictor of the premature cognitive aging and premature aging of the nervous system as well. So we should pay more attention to the skin. And also this cells communication, it's not only weakening, it became sometimes even more noisy. It just became confusing. It's like fire alarms, which are active all the time. It creates this white noise. And it leads to the constant inflammation, constant confusing, and low grade spend of energy in your skin. And actually, it is a perfect metaphor for the hotel, because your electricity is constantly blinking, if your fire alarms is constantly noisy, and if you constantly run just to see what is going wrong, everything spent more of energy. Everything become much less functional, and it just loses the structure. So chronic inflammation and chronic malfunction of the cell's communication become central. So it's not the miracle anti-inflammatory drug we should address communication and the information in the same time to just stop this gossip, memo systems fails, walkie-talkie break, fire alarms, all together. So the overall strategy, it is a gentle, calming care. Why it is so important to avoid irritating ingredients, irritating procedures, and everything leading to the information, even the short period information with an age, because you have too much of information already. So even a little bit of additional information can be crucial, can destroy your wolf structure. And finally, the last one of the integrative hallmarks, which have been added just recently, and it wasn't in 2013 published article by Carlos Lopez-Otin and co-authors. It appears only in 2024 publication. It is dysbiosis. So it is all about the microbiome. So how I see the microbiome in this luxury hotel metaphors. Microbiome, they are our small friends, microscopic bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoas, everything living in our skin in symbiotic relationships with our body. So our microbiome does a lot for our skin, does a lot for our body. It is an absolutely inseparable part and crucial for our health. But they are not only guests in our body. Yes, part of it, we look as guests in our hotel. And you know how good hotel guests look. They are great, they are calm, they are not creating problem, they never call at 2 a.m. at the reception asking for more champagne, they are not trashing the room, they are tipping staff generously, but also the part of the microbiome, they are staff, they are part of the management. They are part of the reception staff. And when your microbiome is balanced, you have more of good guests than bad guests. So the environment is very friendly. And also your reception is very professional. Your management is very professional. When your microbiome starts to be unbalanced, you have more of bad guests who forget to pay, who trash the room, who spend your resources, who takes a lot of attention from your staff personnel, who makes everyone unhappy around them. And also it creates the atmosphere when good guests, they're just leaving the place, they wouldn't like to return. But the worst situation which can happen when your bad guests become criminal, and they create this criminal alliance with your reception and with your management, stealing from rooms, stealing equipments, and using your hotel as the place for crime. And it's what we call dermatosis. It's what we call the skin condition. Yes, this kind of information and everything can lead to the irritation of the skin. But when your microbiome is disturbed, it leads to rosacea. It leads to the face deformation, not only to aesthetic problem or skin discomfort. So this integrative hallmark also should be addressed all the time. We should care about microbiome balance from the early age, because good microbiome, balanced microbiome, can resolve a lot of problems. Good guests and professional staff are essential for your hotel functioning. If you don't address them, if you forget about them, if you're using some sterilizing antibacterial products like benzoyl peroxides or salicylic acid on the regular basis, it will just get rid of good guests and professional staff, replacing them with criminal minds. So what all these hallmarks mean for your skin routine? Why this matters so much for your daily life, not only for the skincare? Because it allows us to understand what we should do, what we should plan, and what we should not. We understand better what types of mechanisms we can realistically influence with lifestyle or skincare or some aesthetic intervention. What are ingredients and habits which can be connected to which hallmarks? What we need for mitochondria, physical exercises, physical activity, what we need for the microbiome, gentle skincare, healthy food, and so on. In the world of cosmetic ingredients, there are few ingredients which are not scientifically proven to be very efficient and very useful to address specific hallmarks of aging. Good news about our good old friend niacinamide, vitamin B3. It can support the energy station, can support the inflammation genes expressions, can influence barrier function, can influence proteostasis. So niacinamide in the skincare addresses primary hallmarks, antagonistic hallmarks, and integrative hallmarks altogether, at least 7 or 8 of them. Resveratrol is well known to interact with pathways of protein synthesis. And also resveratrol, it is epigenetically active, so it acts as epigenetic regulator. Some peptides can upregulate our proteostasis, so interact with primary hallmarks, but also they can be epigenetically active. They can be very useful for mitochondria, can activate them, and so on. Also, there are new probiotics and prebiotics affecting dysbiosis of the skin. So with all these new ingredients, we understand better how we can support each of 12 hallmarks of aging. And if we can support these hallmarks and address them on time, that's a way for the active longevity of the skin. So, coming back to my hotel metaphors, aging is not the single cracks in the wall. It is blueprints accumulating typos, their protective covers wearing down, so remember genomic instability, telomeres attritions, the lighting access system misfiring like epigenetic alteration, furniture and walls control, proteostasis, housekeeping, autophagy, power stations in our skin and our body, mitochondria, staff academy, our training center with stem cells, zombified cells like retired staff members, walkie-talkie and fire alarms as an information, and finally the whole neighborhoods, guests and receptions as a microbiome. In the beauty industry, for so many years, we've been repainting the lobby and sometimes some rooms. Now, this is a time for the real maintenance, for following protocols, to maintain the general cleaning of the hotel, and to the timely maintenance and rebuilding if needed. So with active longevity, we don't fight the age. We learn the whole internal map of aging and working with the biology, keeping the skin functional, so your luxury hotel can stay luxurious for longer as it is possible. I know that this episode was probably a bit dense, but don't worry. You should not memorize all 12 hallmarks of aging. But I want you to feel the shift of the perspective. The aging is not a bad luck. It is a map. It is a network of processes we can measure, we can influence, we can respect. And that's what biohacking does in good sense. And we can do the biohacking for your skin. We can design skincare products. We can design formula. We can design protocols addressing and respecting hallmarks of aging. And that's what we do in Midair, working on new formulation and on the new perspective of the active longevity. That just bringing this skin active longevity to salon, to cleaning, and finally to your bathrobe shelf. So it will never be just anti-wrinkle. It will be active longevity, anti-senescence skincare, which makes your skin not only look younger, but feel better. And when your skin feel better, we feel better, right? Because we are just happy as our skin is. So if you're listening at this point, I just want you to ask yourself, if you look at your existing skincare routine, do you repainting the lobby or you are addressing the structure? You are addressing the hallmarks of aging. And if you want some advice how to address it, leave a comment and let's discuss it together. I will be happy to be the part of this discussion. So thanks a lot for the listening. Take good care of your skin hotel and please like, share, tell your friends about the Skin We Live In podcast. Thank you for joining us today on the Matter Beauty podcast. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an expert skincare tip. Have a question or topic you'd like for me to cover? Send me a message at podcast@matterbeauty.com and let's keep the conversation going. Also, you can visit matterbeauty.com and discover Matter Skincare, which I created. And if you enjoyed the show, I'd love if you left a review. It helps others find the podcast and keeps us growing. Until next time, stay healthy, stay glowing, and take care of your skin.